People ignore the fact that you don't have to have a bigger space. You can utilize the same square footage you have when you're adding services. You can most likely utilize the same trainers, same staff to do this. Today's episode is all about why to build personal training, how to do it right, and how to scale it across your whole brand. Welcome back to Top Rated Gym Podcast, the go-to show for gym owners and fitness professionals looking to level up their game. Today we have an incredible guest who's been shaping the fitness industry from ground up. Joining us is Cory Maxwell, Vice President of Fitness at O2 Fitness Clubs. With over 11 years in the fitness and wellness space, Cory has worn just about every hat in a personal training role, from bootcamp instructor to personal trainer, sales, club leadership, and even spearheading the launch of new personal training brand. So O2 Fitness is a powerhouse with 16 thriving locations and 3 more on the way. They're built a true wellness ecosystem with in-house physical therapy, registered dietitian, and expert personal trainers, all under one roof. It's really rare to find a system in place. Now, when he's not leading the fitness, Cory is proud father of 3 boys, balancing leadership and family like a true pro. Today, we're diving into what it takes to scale the fitness brand and strong coaching culture, redefine what personal training means in 2025. Let's get into it. Cory, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. So listen, personal training is topic, many talk, many things they're doing it right, but you have some interesting approach. Before we start talking about how you do things, tell me why. Why should somebody focus on personal training? Why should business even think about that?
Yeah, good question. Probably an easier question to answer would be why not?
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of reasons. I think the most obvious is, first and foremost, it's an added revenue stream for the health club. Mm-hmm. So thinking about obviously any way to add top line revenue, and generally something like personal training you can set up to where it's mutually beneficial for both parties, both the internal customer of the coaches and then the external consumers of the clients.
Okay.
You could set it up where it truly is an added revenue stream, right? Where we're doing more top line versus just stacking on payroll and hoping to add top line. That's more on the compensation side of trainers. We can maybe talk about that a little bit later, but I'd say first and foremost, that's the most obvious. Second is the impact that these types of connections can have on just the member experience and the support that members feel like they have access to and are getting from the team. Sometimes indirectly, right? They may never even meet with a trainer, but they're able to watch a trainer and see how they're working with the client and see what they're doing. And there's a lot of indirect benefits as well that I feel very much support member retention. And members feeling like even if they never utilize it, they know they have access potentially to this service, to these coaches, to these professionals to get the help. So
even if they think about looking somewhere else, they know you offer that. So you don't lose by lack of offering it.
True. Yeah. You don't have people necessarily going and trying to find coaches or trainers elsewhere. Especially if it's someone that they've seen. And, I tell trainers all the time, that's the main way they grow their business is training clients in the club, being seen on the club. People seeing how invested they are and locked in they are on their clients goes a really long way. So I would say those 2 are the more obvious.
Let me touch back on the first one, impact. So revenue, it's additional revenue. People ignore the fact that you don't have to have a bigger space. You can utilize the same square footage you have when you're adding services. You can most likely utilize the same trainers, same staff to do this. All the overhead expenses are the same. Same software you're running around the company, maybe same lead generation. There's a lot of things that does not increase. Like your costs stay the same, but your revenue goes up. It's much more different than just having personal training business on its own and cost of that associate. So revenue added on, it's incredibly beneficial because it's profitability of that revenue is what really matters. It's almost, not fully, but almost net revenue that comes on, net profit.
Yeah, again, yeah, especially if you're setting the trainers up from a comp standpoint to where it's commission-based, right? It's a split. Again, now it's mutually beneficial for all parties. It's very much scalable for the coach as well. I think that's a very big part of, you think about coaches and trainers coming on and wanting to build a career. They want to see that, right? What is that long-term potential for them here? And then it's mutually beneficial, right? The more they're bringing in, the more commission they're getting and compensated and financially rewarded. But then on the company's end as well, they're continuing to get their cut and add to their bottom line at the end of the day as well.
And Cory, I know Alex Hormozi talks about 3 things really important. It's accountability, fitness, and nutrition. So I know you guys offer all 3. But if you don't have this part of accountability that comes with the personal training, you are increasing chance of churning those members. Because people need results. People are getting there to get results. And you can put everything in place in front of them. And some of us, myself, I'm a client of personal training. I can skip my group classes, but I don't skip my personal training.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like, the guy just sent me, Travis, my personal trainer, just sent me a message like, this is strike 1, buddy. Like, I skipped probably in the last 2 years 3 classes. Wow. And I skip a lot more when it comes to my plan on a group workout or so on.
Yeah.
So think about that. Retention, accountability, it's all together with the revenue. Now, we established why. Now let's figure out how. Like, what are the difference between running a good program, profitable program, successful program, and those who attempt and fail and get frustration and just headaches out of it?
Yeah, that is a less easy, clear question to answer. Right? I think many gyms still operate and do it differently. We currently focus on a lot of, I'll go back to the language I used earlier of making it mutually beneficial, right? Coaches and trainers, it is a very appealing career from the outside looking in. As people get into it, they realize there's potentially a little bit more work, a little bit more grit, right? A little bit more sales involved. It's not their passion of them loving to train and work out themselves may not directly transfer over to doing that for certain demographics and the general population of clients they could be working with. So for us, and really we've tried to focus on is, well, how do we make it mutually beneficial, again, for the company or the organization, the trainer, coach, and the clients or members. And we're very fortunate. I tell people this all the time. I'm super fortunate to work in an industry where we can do all 3, right? We can take care of the business, we can take care of our employees, we can take care of the clients, and it be mutually beneficial across the board. So the how to that, it does go back to, set it up to where, I don't want to say you can't fail, but set it up to where as they win, you win. And there's not a lot of risk for you, but there's a lot of upside for the coaches. Give them the tools and resources. I think the biggest battle is usually that first 3 to 6 months, right? You got to get through that initial phase of getting your personal brand out there in the gym and members getting to know you as a coach. But if you do that for a good 3 to 6 months, I tell every coach this, and you truly do the things that, whether we've laid out or most gyms have laid out from like a lead generation, just connecting with member standpoint, true effort and intention there goes a very, very long way. So
I like it.
That's
personal training is one of the most accelerating parts of the industry. It's one of the rise. The Hersa just pulled out. Jeff, who was my podcast guest, spoke about that. Out of all categories in fitness, personal training is the fastest growing one.
Yeah.
So people are willing to pay and invest. There's more apps thinking like, oh, I don't need even any coach or gym. I can do it myself. But on the opposite side, people are leveraging and want to get more personal touch.
Yeah, I'd love to touch on that. I think, a big part of O2 Fitness, I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more, but we just restructured, rebranded our personal training department a bit. And the main reason for us doing that, and something that I would advise club operators should look into is we were able to re-identify and give ourselves an identity of who we want to be and what we want personal training to look like. And a lot of that is backed off of knowing that there's an increase in technology, just saturation in our industry with AI and people being able to have access to all these resources. But access to resources doesn't always equal access to results. And the more and more that just gets flooded, I think the more and more the consumer can get confused and not know which direction to go or which direction to run. So naturally, what happens if you're hitting all these different avenues and you're at that fork in the road? Well, hopefully you have someone in person or a human connection that you can then go and talk to and have a more educated conversation with. So none of that's a knock on technology. I think technology is really going to continue to play a huge role in the fitness industry. But we believe that there's been that big swing to, during COVID, people really wanting to adopt some of these new apps, some of the new technology. But we're starting to see, I feel like, a swing back to community, social support, human connection, the things that we know that one-on-one personal training experience provides. And it's a lot of the intangibles that you can't get through an app. You can't get through an AI bot. And us really trying to make sure that we are providing that holistic, full scope wellness approach and being a true partner for people in their wellness journey. I think that's a huge piece of this.
I love that. So now, a couple other things is, what is the impact? Can you share some of the results? Did you guys started the brand by having all services like holistic and nutrition and personal training together, or did you add it one at a time? And what's the impact of added services on a bottom line?
Yeah, so overall, OTC Fitness started as a personal training studio back in 2002. I would say overall, just very successful health club. When COVID hit, though, like most, definitely had some challenges. We had to close our North Carolina locations for 6 months, and South Carolina was a little bit different. But overall, what it forced us to do was take a step back and say, well, who do we want to be, and what do we really want to represent? And a big thing coming out of COVID was wanting to be more of this wellness hub, is a lot of the terminology we've thrown around, and it's understanding that we are doing a huge part of people's health and wellness journey by providing a health club, providing personal training services, Group X classes, some of those things, but we're not fully providing things like physical therapy or registered dietitians. And that was a big piece that transitioned out of COVID. Those were ideas we had during COVID that have now fully been executed, which is where we have Renew Physiotherapy within the four walls of our health clubs, utilizing office space. Has been, don't want to share exact numbers for sake of us being a privately held company, but it's been a very successful added revenue stream or business line for us. And then Loop Nutrition, a little bit newer, but similar concept, adding registered dietitians. What's cool about that is it can be done more at a telehealth avenue, so able to connect with people also outside of the Carolinas who are potentially looking to meet via Zoom, via technology, to get telehealth appointments with an RD. And then, more recently, I think the whole industry is looking into how to handle GLP-1s and some of the other more medical substances that are being utilized.
And I want to say for everybody listening to this, right? Like, oh yeah, I cannot do this. Or my gym is structured in such a way that we don't have ability or schedule or time to add any other services. And I would highly question limitations. Because what I like is we all offer one service. Let's say we start with the gym, with workouts. But people have a problem just before they use that services and right after they use their services. Because before can be part of the motivation. I'm sitting in the morning, it's early in the morning, I didn't wake up, my coffee machine is empty, I don't feel motivated, I'm going to skip the gym. It's a factor that says, damn, and they're not going to even know I'm not there, right? Nobody's going to miss me. So that part of the problem of me getting results is my motivation. It's different when you have somebody spending time waiting one-on-one for you, and you have more responsibility towards that person, sometimes more than towards yourself, and you'll make it happen. And then you have other problems. I'm working out, I'm doing all these things, but weight is not going off. My energy is stalling. And it's, the problem is you go right after that gym for that damn bagel, right, or donut next door, and you mess it up. Why? Because there's nobody accountable to, nobody sees you, nobody knows what's going on. Why not have nutrition coach that you have to pay the respect to, right? We do more of other people's expectations than our own. It's proven in the industry of Marines, highest rank Marines athletes in the U.S. Navy. Boom, they perform at the highest. The moment they drop the Marines, they go home, they retire, they drop all the standards. People known for the high standards. We do for other people's expectations. And then that physiotherapy. Think about that. How many people in the world freaking do the workouts wrong way, and they messed up their posture. They create a pain when there's not supposed to be. And now physiotherapy comes up and helps them out, get out of the pain. And I'm kind of, I love this topic because I am the one who was against the personal trainer. I'm the one who was against the freaking nutritionist. I'm the one who was against the physical therapy. It's like, that's for sick people, or that's for stupid people, or that's for lazy people, right? I would label until I start being a customer. When I'm customer, every one of those, holy smoke, different level. So the problem in industry is educating people and really caring about results and outcome. What can you do to deliver that? I don't know if you're with me on this, but I really want to make sure that people understand we are here to deliver outcome, and then there's the problems in that outcome before and after our service that we need to put together to solve those.
Yeah, I'd love to touch on that real quick, and then remind me, I do have a question for you too. So ultimately, even going back to the very first question of like, why do personal training? Well, and I know I joked and said, well, why not? And the reality of that is, well, if we know that the majority of members coming in have potentially never been into a gym before, or even the ones who have, do they have a good program? Are they being held accountable? Like, when you truly get to the mission of why you likely started your brand or your gym or opened your club, it was to help people, right? And to help people progress in their wellness or their health or their fitness. So that's why I said that at the jump. And you think about now these other modalities that you can add in, it's a part of helping people in a true manner. And a lot of it ties back into the club. If someone gets injured and they can no longer exercise, they feel like they can no longer walk on a treadmill, and that was the only thing they were doing because they now have an ankle issue. Well, let's get them connected with a physical therapist, right? Let's get that rehabbed, and let's get that to a place where they know their limitations, they know what they can do. It's also someone that we know because it's within our entity. We know that they're going to recommend that they keep exercising. They're going to recommend once they get to a certain point that they should go work with a trainer. Or depending whatever else comes up, it may be something they're going to recommend to go meet with a nutritionist or a registered dietitian. So for us, it's more of people are going to encounter obstacles. They're going to encounter roadblocks. Do we have a very quick, easy, hopefully low barrier to entry way for them to now sample, or to your point, get more educated on this thing?
Oh, and I love that word sample. When you have all services in-house, it's easy to say, hey, would you like to do this? Would you like to try that? Right? And then they can see the value of it. First of all, I tried physical therapy in one of the businesses called OsteoStrong. Yeah. And OsteoStrong was different, making strong. And Egascu is the one that fixed my posture. And it was such a simple exercises, but you got to do it. And then I referred my mom, and then referred my nephews and everybody to it. And now I'm seeing people in the gym with a posture that's totally wrong. I was like, buddy, you need somebody who is going to take a look at this with a different angle. And the pain, my pain in my knee disappeared. But you said you have a question for me. What question did you have?
Yeah, well, I was curious, to that point, you think about something like personal training, and maybe there being a lack of understanding, or a true understanding, I should say, of what personal training entails and can look like. So I'm curious, what was that trigger for you that made you try it, or got you at least interested in personal training and ultimately investing in it?
Good question. Nobody asked me that before. So the gym opened nearby. I was training in F45 nearby in Coral Springs with a group workout, and I was there every day. Unlimited membership every day. And I signed up for EOS gym next door. And when they were doing sign-up process, they asked me, would you like, as a founding member, to do personal training? So I was doing great by myself in a group workout. But I was curious. I was like, And then I remember me and my wife are signing up for membership. And because of her, I wanted her to be more motivated to do more of the workouts, right? It's like, this guy might help me sell her on personal training and I'm going to join. That was the reason. I didn't sign it for myself. I signed it because of her. I remember now. So my wife, Sally, comes on board. I was like, baby, do you want to do it? We can do it in the same time. Who cares? Right? Let's just jump on a personal training wagon. And we signed up for 2 personal training classes. And it was like twice a week, something like that. And then she was doing it for 6 months. I was doing it for 6 months. And she loved it. She didn't love it, but I saw the progress. Huge progress. Right? First training, she almost puked out. Like, oh my God, this is so hard. But that's the reason why I signed up. And then after 6 months, she stopped, but I continued. That was 3 years ago. And I'm now doing it 3 times a week.
Awesome.
So that might be a good idea. Bring your wife with you.
Yeah.
And then you want to support your wife in her goals. That's it. And quite frankly, I don't know if I would ever train anymore without a personal trainer. It's a game changer. It's a game changer. I'm going now to the gym sometimes on the weekdays where I don't have somebody. And even if I say I'm going to push it as hard as I want, brain always say, doom, that's enough. And my trainer says, no, 5 more. He's the guy who really pushes my limit. And I love it. I barely walk out of the gym sometimes because of that. It's a different game.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think the couple highlights, peer influence is important. And
Yes.
then you did mention something. You mentioned the 2 sessions. You got 2 complimentary sessions.
It wasn't complimentary. It was sold right away. It was part of the pre-sale. So
I think that's a good nugget for viewers there too, because a lot of clubs I think offer like an initial fitness consultation or fitness assessment. There's a lot of different names for it. We have adopted, and we've been doing 2 as well, where we do what initially we call a program design session, and then the second one is just a complimentary workout. And there's a piece of that where pros and cons, right? More time we're investing potentially into people would be a con, and then the potential of them going through that and feeling like they learned more or like they learned enough, right, would be another potential con. But how we look at it is, well, we get 2 opportunities now, and especially if we can get those with 2 different people, right? Up front, you have your general, maybe a fitness director, a wellness director, your personal training salesperson. But then from there, you can also now have a complimentary workout that is with an actual trainer or a coach or someone who is doing this on a very regular, consistent basis, and can now do less of this consultation, me trying to sell you, more of the let me actually show you what this looks like, what this feels like, what this experience is. And just really, I've really appreciated that. And we've been doing it for so long, it'd be hard to fully compare from a financial standpoint what the pros and cons are there. But at least just philosophically, I feel like it gives us 2 shots. And then we know sales, like especially sales of service, different people connect with different individuals. So if we're able to give them 2 different people, 2 different dynamics, it just increases the likelihood that they're going to connect with one of them and therefore make a decision to potentially purchase something or invest in something like personal training.
Cory, that's fantastic question for that.
Yeah.
Do you do that while they're signing up, or do you do that as their gym? Let's say somebody's member for a month, 2 months, a year, or is this only one time you're giving them that two
great
2 sessions
questions.
free deal?
Yeah, so we offer it sign up. Definitely feel it's such an important part for us, for anyone joining the gym. And the main reason, that initial program design session, yes, we're trying to build value in personal training. That is a huge goal of ours in that session. However, we also have to recognize that, let's say 80% of people go through that session and don't do something like personal training. Well, we've now talked to them about their goals. We've made sure they're aware of their health history and how to stay safe in here. We've got a general idea of their lifestyle and probably given them some tips and tricks on nutrition, sleep, stress management, just other important lifestyle factors. We've done an assessment on them and hopefully called out one or two things that they should be mindful of or looking at while coming into the gym. And then from there, we have packaged it all together and try to show them what it would look like to work with a trainer, but also just come into the gym, period, right? And for me, again, yes, if we can get 20% to buy training, that's phenomenal. But I don't want to discredit that the other 80% that have gone through this process hopefully feel much more confident, much more comfortable, have a first step that they can take to hopefully be a member for longer with us. And that goes back to that second piece of not as easy to fully measure, but it's the average lifetime value of our members now increasing because they're getting this experience up front, and able to carry that throughout their time with us. But then to answer your question, so we really like to catch people up front. We also recognize there's a lot of people who come in and, it's human nature. When you're making that initial commitment, you've made the decision, I'm going to join a gym. You're like peak motivation, right? You're ready to rock and roll, ready to go. And we also know that some people don't feel like they need that, right? Or they're like, hey, I'm not ready for a trainer. I just need to come in first. I want to get comfortable and to do things on my own. So all that, understand, still would love for them to go through it. But if they decide not to, we're still going to offer it to you, right? So if a month goes by, if 2 months goes by, I'm sure there's some opportunity there. We're putting some urgency behind it and maybe telling them, hey, it expires at 30 days, expires at 60 days. Sure. Definitely something to consider. But for us, it's always been more of let's meet people where they're at. And when they're ready to give something like that a try or a sample or a discussion, let's be there to meet them where they're at and have that discussion.
How do you measure success of this personal training department? Like, what's the KPI that you keep eye on it? Like, how do you know, especially if you have tons of locations, how locations are doing compared to each other?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, for me, the one that I always go back to is engagement rate, or some people refer to it as a penetration rate. So the percentage of the active membership base that is partaking or actively training. That gives us just a good idea of the opportunity that some clubs may have, especially considering that they are following very similar processes, right? It's the same brand, same organization. Yes. So I like using that one as like a foundational standard. Also recognizing, all clubs aren't created equal. But like starting there, and then it does get more into, we have like a new business pipeline, which would be how many appointments do we have, right? How many have we scheduled? How many have showed? How many have converted? What has the average package value been of these customers that have purchased? Then you also have on the back end more the retention front of what have people been re-signing at? What's the client lifetime value that we're currently seeing when people are canceling? What's the reason? So sure, there's probably a lot more that falls into that.
Love that.
Top
and
ahead,
KPIs are much easier to measure when you have as well technology. And I know you briefly said about apps and technology, and how does the technology play the role in your personal training or in the whole brand?
Yeah, great question, right? And we talked about it earlier. We really believe that human connection, social support, like people are craving that, people are wanting that, whether they realize it or not. Once they experience it, they see the value in it. Community's big. But we also know the reality that technology is growing, advancing. It's more expected from a consumer that there's support from a technology standpoint. And that's how we look at it, right? Technology, for me, does two big things. It gives us a lot more insight and data, and then it gives us convenience. It gives us things a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. more support at home, on-the-go workouts. Specifically, we've adopted a platform called Trainerize. So ABC Trainerize, ABC Solutions is the owner of this application, but it's allowed us to also white label it and make it our app and provide our personal training experience to clients. And it's one of those things, like, we just know it's a huge value add, right? Like, hey, you're meeting with even like you mentioned, right? You're meeting with your trainer 3 days a week. Here's a good at-home workout. If you're going to be home over the weekend, here's a good at-home recovery, stretching, 30-minute workout, so you can go through that over the weekend. We had a tough week this week. We really got after it. And
I wish my gym does that. I gotta interrupt, because I travel a lot, and when I travel, I'm 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, and usually in Europe or somewhere, I cannot find a gym really quickly to get in, and my routine is broken, and I need something. So I ask my personal trainers, like, can you do virtual workout with me? We'll schedule the same time. I was like, nah, that doesn't work. But yeah, and then I'm searching online what I will do with this workout. And then I start a video and I figured out I can't use this workout from video. That part of it, for you guys who are listening, people who do personal trainings are people who respect the time and energy. They want more of their life. You want executives, they travel. Myself being one, like, I cannot afford to lose the energy. And when I come back after 15 days of pause, it's like I lost a lot. So you have to kind of find a way to help them out, work out even when they are not with you, or at least supply with something. That's so important. I got to tell you that. Like, I wish my personal trainer does it, or gym that I'm part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're very excited. We just launched that in January, and very excited to see that continue to grow and expand.
It's additional communication. It's additional weight. It's additional value. And it's, again, problems people have after they use your services. I have a problem with traveling. What do you do to solve that? And I'm talking to the audience now listening to this. What do you do? It's our moral responsibility to consistently keep adding value. And just ask themselves, how do you feel? Like, if you're traveling, did you work out? No, you didn't. Why? Because they didn't find a way to do it. And nobody wants to pay even $9 additional a month for an app as well. Why don't you offer that additionally, even if it's part of a subscription or upsell? So I want to talk about compensation. How do you incentivize your personal trainer? What would you recommend somebody doing it when it comes to proper alignment? So it's really win-win-win.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think I have polled and seen quite a few operators do quite a few things. I think where you land from the actual percentage itself isn't as quite important as people make it out to be. I think you're like super experienced trainer, someone who's likely already got a book of business doing their own thing. They're going to be more mindful and aware of where that compensation or that commission split ultimately lands. But when you look at the majority of coaches or trainers getting into training, they're recently certified, right? They're wanting, especially more of a health club or a larger organization, right? They're looking to get their feet wet. They're looking to come in somewhere, learn and grow as a coach or as a trainer. So I share that just to say, I've talked to some operators who will throw out, 80%. And then really at that point, there's not enough left, or not a lot left for the organization to now take and reinvest into the club or reinvest into that department. And there's a lot that can be reinvested to make these trainers better trainers. So I've seen that on the high end, and then you've also seen I've seen as low as 20-25%. But I like sharing that because I don't think that number up front from a recruiting standpoint is quite as important as it may feel or seem in the moment. I think what's important and how we have tried to structure it, and again, keep in mind, different models, right? That how our model's set up, we're really trying to make a high to no ceiling for these coaches to come in and grow and thrive. But we have it on more of a scale. And what I mean by that is the more hours, the more you become, maybe from part-time to full-time, the more clients you have, the higher that percentage from a commission standpoint gets. So it's a scale that as you come in, you may start at a certain tier and then eventually move to a second tier, eventually moving to a third tier. For me, very important because it's a volume piece, right? It's very measurable for the coach or trainer to see what that progression looks like. And it also compounds. And coaches will go very quickly from being at 20 hours a week, getting a certain percentage, to they've now added 10 extra hours, and now they jump up to that new percentage. And then you also take into consideration all the training they're now doing, and they see pretty significant jumps in their paycheck. So, for us, that has helped keep it economical for the company, continuing to allow us to have the resources to reinvest in them, to provide some of the opportunities that we can provide, make the investment for some of these new coaches to come on and get started. And then we also do bonuses, right? I think for us, I talked about things being mutually beneficial, mutually aligned. We're gonna give them an incentive and a bonus for achieving the same things that we're trying to achieve, and for them it's revenue based.
Yeah.
And if they hit certain criteria or thresholds throughout the month, then they bonus. And I won't get too much into that, but you think about what that does for our leadership team now to start the month out, meet with a coach or trainer and say, hey, you're currently projecting or forecasting X amount of dollars. You're $2,000 away from a bonus. Is that something that you want us to work on this month to try to achieve? And most of the time it's yes, right? So then it's like, great, well, $2,000, average package value is around $500 per client. That's 4 clients. To get 4 clients, we need 15 people to show up. To get 15 people to show up, we need to book 20 appointments, right? Just throwing some rough numbers out there, but it makes it very tangible for the coach to now turn around and say, okay, I need to schedule 20 people to meet with me and schedule appointments this month. And now we're all aligned, and at the pot at the end of the rainbow for them is they get a bonus and they get incentivized, and the company gets the extra revenue as well. The bonus structure has been key. We do a Kickstarter bonus too. I think that's something that's important. Something that just gets people started and capitalizing on that initial motivation, excitement to just be in the club, be a trainer. They need to go do the uncomfortable things of talking to people at the front desk, talking to people on the floor, just getting their name out there, getting involved in Group X, asking for referrals, doing clinics or workshops, right? All these things that if you've never done them before, it can be very uncomfortable, but we know the importance of them going and just doing it and realizing it's not as uncomfortable as they may feel like it is. So, I think, the sliding scale from a commission standpoint, I think every company has to evaluate, obviously, where their commissions need to be based on many other factors that go into not only the personal training department, but the club as a whole, to make sure that it's economical for them.
Wow. And I love that. Do you have your personal trainers responsible for upsell, cross-sell different services?
Good question. Yeah, we do. We have a wellness director who is the primary facilitator of our program design sessions or our initial fitness consultations. But we very much are focused on our coaches being able to sell, upsell, retain. Sometimes it's downgrading, right? So upgrading, downgrading, and being able to hold on to that business. I am a true believer that for coaches to really be successful, they have to understand at least a sliver of the business side of it. And a big part of understanding the business side of it is understanding the sales and retention piece as well. We believe in that very strongly. Again, it aligns with our comp plans and trying to get them financially invested in understanding these things and getting financially rewarded for understanding and being able to execute on these things as well.
Got it. Is there any question that I should ask that I didn't ask you? Because we can go about this topic day and night, and I know time is slipping.
Yeah. No, I think those were the big ones. I think the personal training, just climate as a whole has changed quite a bit since COVID, and Do I think we have it perfect yet? No, it's a ever growing, ever changing landscape that we're working with. But I do know that whatever direction people feel like they want to go, and I know I shared a lot about the direction we're going. You just got to commit to it, right? We got to double down. We got to commit to it.
And when hiring, Cory, personal trainers in your industry, what's your preference? Hiring somebody who is first time doing personal training or somebody who have decade of experience? Is it somebody you want who's green and you want to mold and shape based on the way you want, or somebody who is already experienced, hard to kind of change directions?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I think, without giving too broad of an answer, I think it is situational. Depends why they're coming in. I would say, though, a lot of what you don't see is if a coach is a successful coach or a trainer is a successful trainer, they have a book of business, right? Like they have clients, they have people they're working with. Pretty infrequent that they've now found themselves in a situation, if they provided a really good service, to where they now no longer have clients or they now need to restart their book of business at a health club. So, definitely does happen, definitely does come up. There's, situations where people relocate with significant others or, life just happens and they find themselves here and definitely want to support and connect with those individuals. Usually it does make it easier for us because we can set it up and give them a little bit more autonomy and let them run. Right. And be transparent in that. Right. Like, hey, we're going to be focused on these individuals. We would love to provide you the platform. Again, we have it set up where it's mutually beneficial and let you run. Right. And you get to a certain place, we're kind of prove yourself. We're also happy to continue to jump in and support you as well. On the other end, though, I do love, if it's the right person, I love a new trainer, someone who's just peak passion, just excited to get an opportunity. Because they come in and they do, generally speaking, right? They do a lot of the intangibles, right? They're hanging around the club. They're just excited to be there. They're talking to all the members. They love going to continued education and any workshops we host. They love shadowing other trainers, right? Like all these things that are obviously helping them grow as a coach and a trainer, but they're huge culture impacts on the club.
Yes.
And really do make the club just feel good and feel better. Now, we got to be careful at how much and how green they are, how much we let that impact what the culture may look and feel like of the expertise we have for our personal training department. But I think there's strategic ways to make sure that they're shadowing and they're not jumping in too early to meet with prospective clients and doing some of those things. So, we have our internal system we try to take people through prior to doing that type of stuff. But yeah, I very much enjoy someone who just got certified and they have all the intangibles. We can grow the skill set and training over time.
And I want to ask you, we're wrapping up. We can talk about personal training, and there's a lot more to learn about that. It's not something you can start in 30 minutes of conversation. But if somebody is looking to add personal training in their gym, right, what resources would you recommend? Like they're blank state. Where do you learn things like this? Like what's the best go-to event, coach, book? How would you equip yourself in the knowledge? What can you recommend somebody who's starting in this industry to deep dive into this?
Yeah, well, the top gym rated podcast, right? So yeah, that's a good one. I think really it's finding. I'm a big people person, big people leader. I would say it's finding that person or maybe a group of people that you would feel excited to either launch this initiative or really be a leader and front runner for this initiative, and leaning into the people side of it first and foremost. Now, assuming don't have that yet, or while you're in search, what are just some general good resources you can go to? I would say figuring out health clubs that are doing it successfully. And I think success can be defined a couple different ways with how the personal training department is impacting. But trying to get out and going to things like, I know previously URSA, but HFA, right? Connecting with owners and operators. And there's so many different ways to go about how you set personal training up. And there are multiple dynamics to how you run the sales appointments, how many you offer, how you generate and connect with the leads, where do they fall in your process, before even getting to the staffing piece, which is probably the hardest part, I think, for a lot of club operators right now. But how you build it from the jump. I wouldn't say there's a manual, at least that I'm aware of right now, that's out there on just launching a personal training department from scratch. And I'm sure people have written some. But I do really
believe your next book, Cory.
Yeah, well, I do believe it's called personal training for a reason as well, right? So it's going to be hard to have a cookie cutter approach for all the individual and unique qualities that a lot of these club owners and operators have.
Wow! And the first thing you said that struck me is, don't look for resources, look for resourceful individuals who can help you launch the program. And that's where you play the role. You help this brand take them to the next level. And obviously, they're blessed to have you there. And for everybody now who's looking at O2 Fitness and Cory Maxwell and how they can look into your training, your pricing, your process, your delivery of the services, your brand, how can people find more information about you, your brand, opportunities? Maybe there are employees out there, investors out there, or somebody who wants to join your mission.
Yeah, so o2fitnessclubs.com. That's probably the quickest link to get a quick snapshot of, Renew Physiotherapy, Loop Nutrition, our new personal brand for personal training, the More Than a Gym concept. So that's a good link. I'm happy to connect. I very much enjoy connecting with and networking with others in the fitness and wellness space. I think there's a lot to learn. I think at the end of the day, there's not really competition. A lot of the competition is where are we at? Probably 80%, 85% of people who are not coming into the health club. So it's very big on collaborating, and we're all on a similar mission, and there is plenty of fish in the sea for us to help and nurture. So my email is Cory, Cory, .Maxwell, Maxwell, at o2fitnessclubs.com would be a good direct link to me for anyone who wants to connect and talk personal training or just health and wellness in general.
There we go, guys. You heard it. This was an incredible episode with Cory Maxwell, and you gotta go check it out now. Just pause, whatever. If you're driving, pull over, go to o2fitness.com and connect with Maxwell. Not many guests I have here are as friendly and willing to share their personal contact, guys. Don't abuse it. Don't just let's collaborate. Let's make this world a better place. And Cory, I got to tell you on behalf of the whole community, appreciate you sharing such an incredible wisdom in how we should run personal training space. And there's a lot more to talk about it. And I know there are going to be follow-up sessions and a bunch of questions. So for you guys who are listening, click to share, subscribe, and bring this episode to the people who are really considering about running a personal training or improving one or struggling how to run one. This is an example of why you should do it and how you should do it properly. Thank you all for listening, and thank you, Cory, for being such an incredible guest.
Thank you, Andre.
If you are a gym owner looking to become a top-rated gym in your area, visit topratedgym.com and grab our free 30-day reputation boost. That's topratedgym.com. I'll add it to the show notes for you. Don't forget to share this with your friends. Stay strong, stay motivated, and keep pushing your gym to the top. Until next time, this is Andre signing off.